Hi, and a huge welcome to Steve's Kitchen. Today we're going to be using the air fryer to make a delicious sticky maple and pecan slice. And I'm making it in a 8-inch or 20 centimeter split tin, which I've lined with a bit of baking paper, and I've just made that stick in there with a smear of butter so it doesn't fall out. The base of this is a little bit like a cheesecake base, so you could use graham crackers or digestive biscuits. I'll leave a link up to a method for doing that, but I'm going to use the raw ingredients. So we're going to start with wholemeal flour or plain flour, you can decide. I just like the nuttiness of the wholemeal flour. We got 180 grams, which is 6.5 ounces of flour into a bowl. Added to that, to add even a more nutty flavour, I've got some oat bran, some sort of coarse oat bran. This is about 60 grams, that's a couple of ounces. Just pop that in with the other flour, so that's the start of our dry ingredients. Whoops. Now basically what we're making is a giant cookie, so we need to sweeten it. So I've got 100 grams, 3.5 ounces of soft brown sugar. Just add that in with our flour. A little bit of salt, just maybe about 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And then we've got 125 grams, 4 ounces of butter, which I'm just going to melt in the microwave for about 10 or 30 seconds and add that in there. And then we'll mix this together, and that's our biscuit base. So there is our melted butter. Add that in with our dry ingredients. Let me just bring that camera in a little bit closer. Maybe you can see this more clearly. So we'll add that in with our dry ingredients. Whoops. A couple of bits there didn't completely melt, but that's perfectly okay. And then I'm going to use a spatula and just roughly bind this all together. It doesn't have to be perfect, but what you're going to end up with is something that looks just like biscuit crumbs really, and they taste delicious, but don't be tempted to eat them. We need all the biscuit base that we can muster together. All right, I had a little bit. Oh, that is so good. Now get your tin. As I say, I'm using 8-inch, 20 centimeters. This will be quite a thick biscuit base because I made it before in a 9-inch tin and it was perfectly fine, but I just want the biscuit base to be a little thicker, so I've gone with a slightly smaller tin. And I find if you take the back of a dessert spoon and just compact this down, so start to push the base of this slice down, so we want to get a nice even coating if you can. Just use the tip of the spoon just to get the edge nice and compact. Basically, we've got a giant cookie here, which we're going to bake at 175 degrees Celsius, 350 Fahrenheit, for just 15 minutes. And then we're going to have this lovely cookie that comes out of the air fryer, and we're going to top that with our maple and pecan sticky gooey top and bake it again. So it won't be long, we better get on and make the topping. I've got pecans here, 190 grams, that's around about 6.5 ounces. But these are whole pecans. It's a shame really because you pay for whole pecans, but I really want these cut up a little bit. So what I'm going to do is just pop them onto a board. Now if you can get chopped pecans, it's obviously a lot easier and probably a little bit cheaper. Just take a sharp knife and you can cut through the pecans. They'll probably try to fly off the board. Whoops. That's the air fryer. This particularly, the Instant Vortex Plus, beeps when it wants you to put the ingredients in. You can just ignore it. It'll carry on regardless. So we're just going to chop these up. It won't matter if there's the odd whole pecan in here. Now hang on, stop there. Put the pecans aside. I should have started with the pan actually, because what we need to do is get the syrup made. I've got soft brown sugar here, 100 grams, 3.5 ounces. Pop that into a saucepan, add into the sugar 60 grams, 2 ounces of lightly salted butter. Now even though that's salted butter, I'm going to add probably about 1/4 teaspoon of salt in with that as well. And the magic ingredient, proper maple syrup. So I'm going to have 1/4 cup of maple syrup. Beautiful, I love maple syrup. And we use the same cup, but we're going to add full cream milk. So I've got 1/4 cup of full cream milk. We're going to heat this until all the sugars have melted. This is going to be ready by the time we've got this. I mean, the whole thing from start to finish, it's such a quick recipe, particularly in the air fryer. Over to the stove. Now when it starts to simmer like that, just keep the heat on a low temperature and just keep stirring. You don't want this to boil over, so you just want to have bubbles on the top of the syrup, but you don't need it to boil over. The sugars now have completely dissolved, and then we're going to add our pecans in there. We just coat the whole pecan mixture in the syrup. I'm just going to let this come up to temperature again. Now, how is that for timing? Because we've got 44 seconds left. My pecan sticky topping is ready to go on top. So as soon as that's ready, we can add our sticky pecans on top. There we go. There's the end. And if you look in there, you've got this beautiful sort of golden blonde top of what is basically, look, there's some brown sugar there, what is basically a giant digestive or oatmeal cookie. I'm going to go and put the pecan mixture on top. That beautiful sticky goodness. And now your job is to try and sort of submerge most of the pecans into the toffee sauce. But we want to get a fairly even pecan texture. Oh, this is going to be so gorgeous. So we've got the pecans evenly distributed. Back into the oven. We're going to cook this for about 12 minutes. Same temperature, 175 degrees Celsius, that's 350 Fahrenheit. Now be careful not to do this for too long, otherwise you might burn the caramel. That should be just about the perfect time to set the caramel, and then we'll take it out and let it cool down. This is such a quick recipe. I can't believe how quickly we've made this. It's unbelievable. If you were baking this in the oven, just getting the oven up to temperature would take longer, but 40 seconds from now, we're going to have very hot pecan slice. There's the beeps. Now, the top of that pie is bubbling away perfectly. Now, you could let it cool down here in the oven, but I'm just going to lift that out and pop it on the side there. The room smells delicious. Now, whilst that's still hot, I'm going to take a little bit of flake salt or fleur de sel and just sprinkle it over the top. Now, this is an optional step. You don't need to put the salt on, but you're going to get that lovely salted caramel flavour. Let this cool down for about 20 minutes on the side, and then we'll get it out of the tin, put it onto a plate, and I like to put it into the fridge to completely set. The pecan slice has set, it's lovely and firm. I've made myself a cappuccino and I can't wait to tuck into this. Come in a little closer. Okay, let's take a slice. I'm going to cut it across. So a slice for me and a slice for Michelle. In truth, this is still a little bit warm, but that's going to make it even more delicious. Stop talking, tuck in. Oh wow. That is so delicious. I need some coffee. Beautiful, sweet pecan maple syrup. That is gorgeous. And to make something like this in an air fryer in what were we, about 15, 20 minutes? It's absolutely great. I'm sure you're going to enjoy this. Let me know if you do make it. Share with me some photographs on Instagram or Facebook or any social media you like. What are you doing? Get off, make yourself a pecan slice. I'm going to enjoy this and the rest of my coffee.